Hello, my name is Warren McCrae. This is PTR Week 3. I'm doing a stock analysis on Teledyne, which is their logo is everywhere you look. And you know what they really are? They have a location out here in Huntsville, Alabama, and they are all over the United States and overseas. So, Teledyne is an upcoming aerospace company, and they're joining the ranks with the big, huge aerospace manufacturers. What they predominantly do, they create relays, switches, and other industrial, control applications um, that allow aerospace, items such as planes and stuff to work properly. So I sat and I thought and pondered how I would use Teledyne or use their stock in a way to try and uh, accomplish the goal of finding a pattern recognition using correlation analysis and how I would do that. So I was able to come up with an idea, and based off the correlation coefficient between the major aerospace manufacturers that dominate the market, will other aerospace stocks such as Teledyne's continue to grow at the same time and at the same speed as their competitors? So that was the question. And here you can see Teledyne stock. Teledyne stock initially started at around $100 in 2017, and since then, since mid 2016 to 2018, almost completed. They're already at $212, $208 actually as they're closing. So as you can see, they're climbing, and they're climbing fast. So the companies that I will use to correlate this question that I proposed is Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon. And if you don't know those companies, they are very huge aerospace companies. Besides Boeing, these companies run the game, run the show. So visually looking at the different stocks, you can already see a trend. This is Lockheed Martin's stock. It's gone up about $200 in 3 years, 4 years. All the stocks seem to rise the same way. This is Northrop Grumman's, continually rising. And then you have Raytheon's stock continually rising. Raytheon actually would have been a very good investment 4 years ago because the stock was cheap, and now it's up to $240. So the question you have to ask yourself is this just by coincidence? I don't think it is. But I also propose, is there a mathematical way for us to get, a better picture of what is happening behind the scenes? So going back 5 years, I compiled all the stock prices from Lockheed Martin, Northrop, Raytheon, and even Teledyne. I put them into an Excel spreadsheet after doing some research on how to do that in an Excel spreadsheet. And I was able to get a correlation analysis of the data. Here you can see Northrop, Raytheon, and Lockheed. I used those to try and get a correlation analysis as to how close they were to 1. For Northrop, Raytheon, and Lockheed, there was a high correlation in their stocks, and they had a Pearson's coefficient of 0.998, 0.990, and 0.980. Both of those, all three of those, are very high coefficients, and getting a mean of that is 0.986. So you can see that out of those three companies, they all rise at the same time, and it's highly probable that they, will continue to do so together and probably fall together. So it's conducive to use one of those to find the correlation with Teledyne. So I used Lockheed Martin's correlation information, and I put those again in the Excel spreadsheet. And when comparing the two, Teledyne, in fact, indeed does uh, correlate with Lockheed Martin, which justifies my hypothesis that um, a stock will rise, with its parent kind of company, that being Lockheed Martin. So, as stated just previously, when a correlation analysis is done with Teledyne in regards to Lockheed, who mirrors its competitors, as previously described, we see there is a 0.8630 correlation coefficient, and it would show that it's highly probable and likely that Teledyne will continue to rise and fall with Lockheed Martin stock concurrently. So, with that, we'll go on to the next subject, and that subject will be whale tracks. That's an awesome picture. They timed that perfectly. They knew what they were doing. Okay, so I didn't see any whale tracks. First, I had to find out what a whale track was, and it's kind of they didn't really have a definition for it. You have to kind of come up with your, you have to read different blogs or different, sites that talk about whales and all that stuff. Basically, the way I perceive it is, you have these big people, big investors that are looking for, the perfect stock to invest in, and pretty much the well track would be, is this stock going to be something that a super investor is going to snatch up and take? In this case, I didn't see that Teledyne was one of those, because they're already high in stock and they'll continue to grow. But I think it's not going to astronomically climb something like what was that currency? The new currency that just came out. Anyways, I digress. But anyways, this isn't going to skyrocket to a point where a whale's got to get it right now. So another topic that I had to do a lot of research on was support and resistance zones, and those can be used to show where a stock frequents in share price based off of stockholders, and that they either support or resist the stock from growing. So basically, the way I perceive the support and resistance zones is you're looking at areas where the stock has gone down, gone up, gone down, and gone up in the same area, and you can kind of predict that it's probably going to go down again in that area, and then when it does decide to go back up, you can be first in line to allow yourself to be in position for that rise in stock. And so on this chart, I have multiple bands, because there are multiple bands. As you can see at the bottom, there's a low band about a year ago when it was going up and down, and then there was a lot of support that took the stock all the way from 140 to 100 and roughly $80 per share, which is a high increase. And then again, we have the support and resistance zones where they're going back and forth. People are selling and buying, and you can see in that upper band, that it was over 6, 7, 8 months. It was in that area where it was just continually going up and down. So the next tool that you can use as well are Bollinger Bands. This guy right here is John Bollinger. Basically, it puts a upper and lower visualization that you can see, how things how you want to see what the 20-day average is of a stock of that middle band. And so basically, you're able to see where the highs and the lows will be, or a range of where that stock could go. So again, I went and did some research and was able to find out how you can create a Bollinger Band in Excel. was fairly easy. You had to just know how to do standard deviation. I did two, my upper and lower band, and I had to learn how to put the mathematics in it. But as you can see here, uh, I do have the Bollinger Band, and you can see that um, 214 at the if you look at the upper Bollinger and the lower Bollinger, 214 to 194, 213 to 203. We go down 6 to June 18th, it's 207 to 201, and those Bollinger bands are really close. So that means there's a severe uptick or downfall that is you know going to be occurring in the future. So you want to pay attention to those Bollinger bands, and when they're spread out, that means things are probably in a state where it's kind of like in one of those supportive resistance bands. All right, and so in closing, based off of our correlation analysis as well as our Bollinger bands and our support and resistance bands that we looked at, it would be safe to say that our next move would be to, the next move for Teledyne will be to increase in stock, because we see that aerospace companies continually rise and fall together. We saw that, the Bollinger Band showed that it was close, which means it's about to make a move and it's probably going to go up. The probability is pretty high. And that's what I would do. So I would tell my partner or my friend or person that was looking to invest in a stock, and if I was coming at it from a business intelligence perspective, I would definitely tell him to invest. I see Tesla stock continuing to go up right now. Boeing's stock is at 300 and roughly $20 a share. And Teledyne can easily get up there, which means that's another $100 increase in shares. So that's what I would do. Well, I hope you enjoyed this keynote, this presentation, and hope you have a great day. That is all I got.